All right, Barry, you got me beat by four years. I'm 21 years in franchising. You're 25. So I feel silly asking this question, but I have to because it unpacks a lot for us to discuss. So how did you accidentally fall into franchising? What's your franchise backstory?
My franchise backstory is initially I was a franchisee of a company called Velocity Sports Performance. My daughter was a top tennis player, and I figured I'd buy that franchise so she could train and just get going. So that's my first foray into franchising. Then I invested in a restaurant, and I grew that company for a couple of years, and then said I want to be the franchisor. And so I sold that and started Shelf Genie. Started Shelf Genie, left after 5 years. I was the chairman of the board then, and went to run Concrete Craft. Sold Concrete Craft after a couple of years to Home Franchise Concepts. Went to work with my franchise group, been there, 12 years. Sold Shelf Genie to Neighborly in 2020. Met the guys at Conquer in 2025. We launched the franchise in mid 2025, and so we're growing.
You take a moment and think back on, I'm sure how fast it went, but all these different moments. What are you most proud of that you've accomplished in franchising?
Two things: no lawsuits at all on either side, franchisee, franchisor, and no franchisees gone bankrupt. So unit economics, absolutely key. And that's my mantra in any business I'm involved with. So those are the two big things. I'm happy to say, I haven't been sued or I haven't sued anybody, and franchisees are making money.
Not that I'm comparing you to Michael Jordan, but if I said, "Hey, Michael Jordan, do you classify yourself as a basketball player or a baseball player?" I would hope that he says basketball because the baseball didn't go so well.
Right.
But, he became professional in both. If you had to pick one side that you've enjoyed, it doesn't mean you don't enjoy the other side, but is there franchisor is hanging from a cliff and you can only pick one to identify?
Yeah, a franchisor for sure, without a doubt. And the reason is because you're really mentoring people, right? They're buying into your vision, and you, of course. But I always tell people, buy it for the brand, don't buy it from me, because I'm not going to be here forever. But the franchisor is all about helping people gain financial independence, but also mentoring them in business and also the brand you're growing or the product or service that you're offering. So I like being the teacher, and I like to see people succeed. And I've had a lot of franchisees in the systems I've been involved with do very, very well. And I'm proud of those. I'm proud of those accomplishments.
This is by no ways to put down your first foray into franchising as a franchisee. But when you think back on that moment, knowing that you're super passionate about the teaching component, did it give you a lens of things that you didn't want as a franchisor? And did that help you become a better franchisor because you experienced things differently as a franchisee?
Yeah, the toughest thing in a franchisor is picking the wrong franchisee, right? And so, not that I was ever in the desperation mode where I need that check, but picking the wrong franchisee and not going through the process, then you find out that person is sucking the life out of you all the time and not a lot of fun. So that's the part I don't like. I don't mind having underperforming franchisees that you could help grow. That's fine. It's having franchisees that think they know everything and they want to reinvent the entire system that you've been doing for years and it's successful, but they're so entrepreneurial. They challenge everything, want to change everything. So they're not really a good student at all. I like to get those guys out of the system as fast as possible because life's too short. That's all. So, qualification is really, really important. And too many emerging brands just take the check, right? And I've seen it happen too often. And 3 months after the check, they're saying, what did I do this for? Well, they needed to make payroll the following week, so they did it. But so, I call it high maintenance franchisees.
Yeah, it's kind of this is going to be a statement that is a tail wagging the dog. I think part of the challenge of franchising, especially when you're not the founder or the owner, is this false pressure to grow that typically like sales goals are pulled out of clouds. They say,
Right.
well, let's look at the data, and the data never supports it. And so probably why salespeople turn over so fast and have different jobs is because the pressures don't align to the realities of the business. But if you're at a good franchise brand that the tail doesn't wag the dog, that the dog wags the tail, meaning you're saying yes to the people that are properly qualified, they have enough
Correct.
for rainy day and can scale, are vetted the right way, even if that takes more time, it actually turns into more revenue for the franchisor because they outperform average, which means they're going to drive higher royalties for the same amount of work. So
Yeah, and when you're an emerging brand like Conquer is, you're kind of working very close with the initial franchisees because you don't have every T crossed and I dotted. What's your brand standards book and furniture and all that. And so we got some great franchisees, and we sold a lot of territories without an item 19. So that's either that's good or bad, but it was good for us. And the early adopter franchisees are very in tune to helping grow the brand.
So tell me about the business. Obviously, like I know the category well. Everybody that is paying attention to franchising or anything to do with paddle or pickle has affinity.
Sure.
Give a sense of what's going on with the business. Give me kind of the state of the union.
Yeah. So the State of the Union is it's the fact. I mean, and the first thing is, do you call it paddle or you call it padel? And that's depend on where you come from. But most people outside the United States call it paddle. And so we'll go with paddle. Inside the United States, they add a little panache to it to say padel. But the world population calls it paddle. And it's the fastest growing sport in the world currently. And so while it's not the fastest growing in the US, because pickleball has that locked up for sure, it's a global sport, and it's the race to the Olympics. Who's going to get there first, paddle or pickleball, or maybe both together? But paddle is united with associations on a global basis, where pickleball is all about the billionaires trying to figure out who owns what. So sports growing, it's very fast. Started in Mexico, but heavily influenced in Spain, the UK, Germany, France, a lot in Europe, a lot in Asia. Courts are growing, and people kind of measure things by courts. So, in 2025, there were 8,000 new courts put together, right? Put in, and there's 58,000 right now out there. And so, to put it in perspective, the U.S. in the United States alone had 600 courts in 2024. Now they're over 1,000. So it's growing, right? It's growing, and it's indoor and outdoor. Okay, so predominantly the sport was outdoors, heavy in Florida, large Hispanic population, a lot of courts. In Spain, Barcelona, wherever, they're on every other block. So then all of a sudden the weather comes into play, and everybody's learning from pickleball that says, oh, we can play inside now not affected by the weather, and can play 24/7. Right? So now it tends to be going more inside than outside. In municipalities, you'll have free pickleball courts because there's no maintenance. But very very few public Padel courts. Right? They're just not there. Somebody's got to watch out for the glass. You got to clean it. We have AstroTurf on the floor. And then the biggest thing is awareness. To grow this sport, people have to be aware. 7 out of my 10 friends I told I was getting into this business, they had no clue what it was. Absolutely no clue. So the biggest challenge for the sport and the industry is awareness. Just people just don't know what it is. Now you get converted tennis players, converted pickleball players, converted squash players, and once people try it, they love it. It's a little more running than pickleball. You're playing doubles because you're running off, getting the ball off the back wall, and you're running. So you got to be in better shape, right? Target player 20 to 50, right? Whereas pickleball, seniors 65, 75, 80 are playing pickleball 3-4 days a week, and they're just doing just fine. Paddle's relatively light compared to a racket at Padel. And that tennis ball, it's a little smaller than a tennis ball. It's coming at you pretty fast if somebody hits it. So you got to be paying attention. I think we're 4 or 5 years behind pickleball, right? So pickleball is growing. Awareness is the biggest challenge. The second biggest is explaining to landlords what it is. Our franchisees have gone to landlords, and the ceiling height is you need a high ceiling, so the ceiling height's correct. The column spacing is okay. The rent's okay. And the landlord says, I want to put in racks and forklifts, and they want to do, want to put in 5 or 7 paddle courts, and the landlord has no clue what it is. And so convincing them really to really say, hey, we can do this. It's going to help the community. We can get the permitting. That's another hurdle that has to be overcome.
How many units do you have open now?
We have 2 opened. One in Tempe, Arizona. That was our flagship first location. 5 courts, 22,000 square feet. Second location opened 3 weeks ago in Lehi, Utah. 7 courts, 30,000 square feet. Those are 2 corporate locations. 12 franchise locations in construction all over the country. Tampa, Jacksonville, Orlando, Los Angeles, Seattle, Reno, Chicago, and New Jersey, New York, Connecticut. So 4 franchisees with 12 locations going or in process.
So as an outsider, I'm gonna say a comment because I saw something tremendous that doesn't come across to me on the franchise site. There's a part on your consumer site that says your ultimate club haven. What that meant to me is I saw holistic wellness. I saw something that I can build relationships at. I saw that it doesn't have to be one size fits all. And so I saw that you're basically taking all of these wellness brands that are living as singular spots within strip centers.
Sure.
And you combined it all to give one, a point of differentiation to the consumer, but a competitive landscape that now goes into wellness. And I actually like that. So if it were me and I bought your business, I would take that port and put it at the top of your franchise site because that sells me so well.
Sure. Yep.
How much has that meant to making this easy to show a franchisee all of the different revenue streams that they're going to have access to?
Yeah, it's really paramount. One is we're in the baby boomers want to get older and age, and health is a big category, right? So if they're playing the sport, they want a cold plunge afterwards. So we have that. We have a sauna. We have infrared sauna, lockers and showers, and compression therapy. So it's important. And so the key thing is the jury's out of the mixed pickleball and paddle in the same facility, right? And some people have done that. They just have both. We elected not to do that right now. We might in the future because it all depends on, okay, how big is the building and what do you want the rent to be, right? And so the rent is the absolutely number one thing. So having all those modalities helps with people and helps with the community because we don't want people to just play and leave. We want people to play, have a smoothie, hang out, go to the cold plunge, stretch, relax, maybe get a massage, and really total wellness around playing paddle, right? Because it's like tennis. You're playing a set, you're playing an hour and a half. People that are a little more aggressive are playing 2 hours. And that's probably pretty much the limit. People are not playing 5 hours. They're playing 2 hours, and they're playing three times a week. Average person 3 times a week. The overkillers are 5 days a week. There's all kinds of events and social events. There's round robins, there's clinics, there's leagues, but that's the whole concept is wellness and hang out. Amazing because of the sport is very heavy in Europe. The WhatsApp groups are amazing, right? Like you might have 300 members and they're all in a WhatsApp group, right? They have an app to go down and do everything, but everybody's communicating. Hey, looking for 2 players tomorrow at 7:00. Anybody available? And so the WhatsApp group, because it's outside the US, US is using GroupMe and text, but WhatsApp is absolutely prevalent in the pickleball world. I mean, in the Padel world. And so okay, that's great. And so that's how the camaraderie is. And I mean, my phone's getting WhatsApp messages all day long, all night long from around the country with our clubs are and franchisees. And we're using it as a tool because we have a franchise marketing WhatsApp group. We have a construction WhatsApp group, and we're using it. It's kind of like right on your laptop all day long. You're just doing WhatsApp.
For me as an outsider looking at this, I like looking at the B2C positioning and where it goes, and so I see a whole other competitive landscape. The Top Golfs, anything that is taken some sort of sport, made it accessible. But if I use Top Golf or golf in general as in a physical fitness thing, it lacks the components that you guys have. Like the reality is where the world is talking about longevity and V2 Max, all the things that we're talking about on how do we prolong life, it's all things that are going to happen out of what you're offering, that you might be on the forefront of it, and it may have not hit in the mainstream as pickleball has, but that plus all of the recovery elements that you have within the 4 walls, once this element hits and I understand that I can have my physical fitness across whole body physical fitness and the recovery element, and the membership, and the community, I think that's where the business becomes very interesting, that the 12 that are in construction they're going to end up being pioneers to what.
Right. We know all of our early adopters are pioneers because we're pioneers in this sport. And one of my partners really brought this he lived in Hermosillo, Mexico, and he's playing there all the time. And then he had a business in Phoenix, and he got tired there, so he moved to Phoenix, to Tempe, really, and said, "Let's do this." And that's kind of how it all started. And then I met him and said, "Hey, let's franchise this." And he said, "Yep, let's go." And so we're definitely early adopters in the whole sport. There's maybe one franchisor coming on board, but we're absolutely the leader, and we want to stay the leader. And some of our franchisees are former collegiate tennis players. So they want all the physical fitness stuff, right? Because they're used to having, they played college tennis, and they're used to having, a complete weight room and all this stuff. And they're putting a big mezzanine upstairs so they can have a full, treadmills and ellipticals and weights. And so they're expanding that because that's their background.
Obviously, this is not for investors that have not achieved success in life. This is for wealth builders because of the depth of the investment. Are you seeing a consistency in background outside of tennis of where folks are coming from to be one of the pioneer franchisees?
Yeah, I mean, two of our guys in Florida came out of tennis, and they loved playing paddle, and they were driving 45, 50 minutes. So they said, "I'm just going to buy one." And we met him at a conference, and so they bought 3 locations. And our first franchisee was a Planet Fitness franchisee, and he had 20 or 30 units, and he sold them to private equity like we all do, and I've done it a few times. And then was looking for the next greatest thing. So in the sport, understands wellness. A guy in Beverly Hills, that's one of our franchisees, just saw it someplace, never played before. Was a fashion designer, loved it, and said, "Okay, I'm going to buy two locations in Los Angeles." And so, I mean, it is, it's a $2.5 million investment. So it's not for the faint of heart. But most of the people like sports. And so they see the racket sport, something new coming into the United States. And, some people just want to be early adopters, right? Get that real estate, so to speak, while they can, where the territories are available, and then hopefully grow, and then maybe they exit or they just grow. Some of our guys have aspirations to have 10, 20 locations. You got to get the first ones open first. You got to get them profitable, and then you go on to the next ones.
Let's pretend that someone is watching this and they're intrigued. Any closing thoughts on why someone should look at this business?
It's a lot of fun. It has good unit economics, and it's early stage. That's absolutely key.
Well, and going back to your opening, no litigation, no bankruptcy, franchisee, franchisor, multiple exits. I would imagine you would not have thrown your name behind something that you didn't believe in. And so that's another check mark on.
Correct. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. I've grown exited 3 franchise companies already. 2 to private equity, 1 to a private party. Our goal would be to do the same thing here in 10 years before I get too old.
I love it. Barry, good catching up with you. Thanks for sharing some of your story.
You got it. Thanks.
Barry.
Talk soon. We'll get you playing when the Chicago location opens.
I'll be there.
Thanks, Nick. Take care.
Take care.